we are once again talking about another topic that y'all probably need to talk about. So let's get it. Let's hit it.
No, you don't. Good day, Soulmates. Welcome to Make It Make Sense.
We're
I'm
here.
Kiana.
I'm Gus. Making it make sense again.
Once again in the song. How you doing today, Gus?
I'm pretty cool. How about you?
Living the dream.
Yes.
Living the dream.
Always, always. So what's the topic today?
Today, in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to talk about mental health and mental health while dating. Because I remember years ago when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Okay.
I remember thinking, how am I going to date with this condition? And do I let the person know that I have this condition? What are they going to think of me? What am I going to think of myself? This seems weird. When do I tell them? I just had all these questions.
Right.
But I never quite got the answer. It just worked out where I really didn't have to disclose much because by the time I started dating, pandemic hit, and then it was like the world was kind of shutting down. And it was just weird. Anyway. Nobody really cared. Right. But I just remember in the beginning, I was really nervous about disclosing that information. I'm asking personally and as well as for my other soulmates that are trying to make it make sense. Because I recall 6 years ago after my diagnosis with bipolar disorder, I remember thinking, how do I tell people about this? Do I tell them? At what point do I tell them? How do I tell them? And are they going to run? Are they going to think I'm weird? It was a lot to think about, but I never really quite got the answer back then at the time. Eventually, I just stopped dating for a while. Then the pandemic hit, and so it didn't matter anymore. But I know that this is something that we should talk about because people are, we some frame or another, all deal with things, right?
Right.
And it's difficult to disclose when you're going through, especially mental or emotional things to people, yet alone to somebody that you're dating. Why is it hard? I don't know, but it just is. So at what point do you tell them this? Because it made me think about the episode of Insecure when Nate just, according to Issa, ghosted her because she hadn't heard from him in over a month. Then he just popped back up.
Right. So, so are you talking about one particular instance, or there was a few that where you kind of felt the same way? Like, did it matter?
No, I thought about it on several occasions, just thinking about dating in general. Like, at what point do I tell them these things, or do I tell this person?
So basically, you had the same feeling no matter who the person was.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
I mean, I think, first of all, I don't think you owe anybody any type of explanation necessarily, but I think the stronger a relationship gets, or the closer you get to somebody, eventually they may deserve to know certain things, like so they can have an understanding. Not that you'd have to, I don't know what I'm really trying to say with that, but like no surprises. Like, let's say if there's an emergency type of situation where they may need to respond, it would be good if they knew how to respond or what to respond to, that type of thing.
I agree, because so for me, I think there was one person I did disclose it to that I was dating. This was probably probably a year after I got the diagnosis. But at this point, I was well off into my recovery. But I remember telling him about it because I was just damn proud of myself. But eventually, he did tell me that he thought I was telling him about it because he thought I was trying to scare him. And I thought that was so strange. Because why would I try to scare you? Especially when it comes to my mental health. Like, this is a real thing. So why would it be something to scare somebody away?
I don't know. I guess maybe he probably had another issue, or maybe he felt insecure in the relationship, or felt like.
Yeah, well, he was emotionally unavailable, so it didn't matter.
Okay, yeah.
But at the time, I was like, really? That's what you thought that was? And for me, again, it goes back to me feeling comfortable with the person that I'm with, because at this point, if I'm saying I'm dating you, I feel comfortable enough telling you about my mental health diagnosis, or even if I had cancer or diabetes, wouldn't you still want to know?
Yeah, I think.
Wouldn't you still be privy to knowing? So why wouldn't I tell you that? It's still a medical condition.
Well, yeah, one health issue is just like any other health issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it just becomes a matter of responsibility, how to respond, how to go about understanding the person that you're with.
And I think too, it also goes back to how comfortable you are with the individual. How comfortable are you in the individual? Are you emotionally safe? Do you have the type of connection where you can disclose that information? Because I see now, he and I didn't really have that deep of a bond. Clearly we didn't, because that was his reaction. But I think if it comes off too soon, too quick, it can be seen as trauma dumping, where I guess if you're just dumping all of your emotional stuff, the things that you've been through, because I know I've seen it where women have done it. So I've heard the stories where women have done this on dates, and they just dump all of their baggage and all the stuff that they've endured with other men.
Yeah.
On date. Now I get that. Now I would never do anything like that.
I got some stories on that one, but I'll wait till later.
Right. But when it comes to somebody's medical condition, I think that warrants some kind of just a heads up if you feel comfortable enough.
Yeah, I mean, and again, too, it depends on if you feel it's even necessary to disclose that. Like, I've dated someone. This wasn't like a real serious relationship, but I was dating someone, and we went out to lunch one day, and it was our first time going out. And she just kind of discreetly, while we talking, we eating, she just reached into her purse, popped a pill, and kept on talking. And I didn't think nothing of it, and it wasn't worth a conversation. Like, we didn't have to say, what's that you taking or anything like that. Yeah. But I guess I'll use your term, emotionally intelligent enough to just understand, okay, she's taking the medication for something. It's not worth talking about right now. We're trying to enjoy our lunch, and we go from there. And if she wants to tell me more about it, she can later.
Okay.
And I think it's just that simple.
That's pretty mature. So let's say, hypothetically, like for example, on Insecure. So Nate basically inadvertently ghosted Issa because he was having a depressive episode and he had to go back to Houston. And that's when he was later diagnosed with bipolar disorder. But never at any point did he disclose that to Issa. So in her head, she just gave Nate some and he just ghosted her.
Right. I mean, that's not fair.
It's not for either party.
Right, it's not.
And then when he came back, and then he just told her about it. She like, I still don't get it.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Because he didn't come right out and say what it was. He was just like, I was just
going through something. Right, yeah.
And that goes back to the thing that I'm saying. What are we afraid of? Why do we hide so much stuff? Because Issa and Nate had sex. So if you can lay and play with somebody, you should be able to tell them that you suffer with depression or bipolar or schizophrenia or whatever the case is.
If you can reach that level of intimacy.
If you can reach that. If it's that serious, then how come it's not that serious to disclose your mental health?
Although they had sex pretty quick. Exactly. They didn't have a chance to become emotionally intimate. They didn't have a chance to grow with each other in that way. They just jumped in and had sex. They jumped in the pool the first day that wasn't the first day they met, but basically they met in the cab. We telling the story, but anyway, the story is, the moral of this story is, they didn't grow a relationship. They didn't have a foundation of anything. Even if
they had and I just want to play devil's advocate. So let's say that they did have that connection, and he still hadn't disclosed that. And they still was to have sex, and he still hadn't disclosed it, and they still would have went through the ghosting situation.
Okay, I could look at that at two different ways. So, from what we know, he didn't really know. He didn't have his diagnosis right. He did.
No, he said he just got diagnosed after.
So he didn't really understand what was going on either.
Right.
So I think by him not understanding his own issues, he didn't know how to express it
Mm-hmm.
to Issa either. But from the other side of that, let's say someone does know, they know the potentials, they know um, that maybe there may be cause for an explanation or something, then maybe you should. I don't know. It depends on the individual, like, and the circumstance too.
Okay.
Not every case is going to be the same.
No, it's not. And I'm just wondering, when do you say it? And I remember
that's tough. That's tough.
Last summer, I had reached out to another podcaster, influencer, and I was like, I would love to come on there and talk about mental health and dating. And when do we talk about it? And he was like, oh no, we don't want to have that conversation. People not ready for that. And I was like, well, why not? Why? When are we going to be ready for it? They wasn't ready for the AIDS conversations either, but we had to start talking about it.
Yeah, people had.
And he's a grown man, and we are adults. But I'm saying, we're going to keep trying to act like these things don't exist, and we're going to keep tiptoeing. But see, this is why we have trauma bonds, because nobody can identify their own trauma and understand themselves. Then you start connecting with people for all the wrong reasons, and you think it's love, but it's really a trauma bond.
Okay, so at what point do you treat mental health the same as any other health issue?
It is other health issue. But, that's exactly what it is.
But the expectation might be different. Let's say you brought up AIDS, right? Mm-hmm. Suppose one of the partners is HIV positive or something, or any other illness or disease. At what point do you disclose that? Or is it fair?
I would want to know that
exactly
as soon as it's getting serious, especially if we're about to have intercourse. If we're about to get intimate, I'm going to need to know that. And mental health ain't even contagious. So why not disclose?
Right. Why not?
What are we so afraid of? And why do we keep trying to put up this mask and this front and this facade with these people that we're laying down with? We already exchanging energy, bodily fluids, but then we don't want to be honest about when we're not okay. It's so bizarre.
So, okay, take me back to the beginning. So, again, like, how comfortable did you feel?
You know me.
Or you would have been okay just saying?
Yeah, I've always been comfortable, because at this point, I survived suicide. I did the recovery. I was grateful. I was excited about life. And when I met this person, the conversation started out with, you look like you really enjoy life. I said, yes, I do. I love it here. I've gone through a lot to get here.
Okay.
And that's when I went into the story about how I was diagnosed as bipolar after my suicide attempt.
Okay.
And I wasn't even on medication at that point, because I had already did all of the spiritual work.
Right.
Yeah.
I got you.
And I wasn't on medication anymore, but I was just saying that because I was just proud of myself. But going back to somebody that's emotionally unintelligent, they looked at that as something different.
And his reaction was?
I mean, I think at the time his reaction was cool, but later on he did admit that he thought I was telling him certain things to scare him. And I'm the type of woman that, you know me, I'm just going to be honest about who I am, because I've learned so much that I'll say, you know, I used to do this, so I always used to think that, because I've grown. Now, if a person can't understand that when I disclose things from my past, it's not to scare them, it's to show them, oh, your girl has grown. Mm-hmm. So I'm not the one or the two to play with, because I've come too far.
Right. I mean, I think it's fair, first of all, to just let people know what they're, I don't want to say dealing with, but potentially going to be dealing with. So, I mean,
you may as well know because that's the problem, right? Soon as after we have sex, after you get the draws, everything changes. People energy change. They stop calling as much. They stop responding. You need to know what you're getting yourself into.
And even how to respond in case there's an emergency. And just
in case there was an emergency.
Yeah, what would that person do not knowing? I mean, that could be a potential freak out moment. Like,
it could be. And that goes back to what I was saying. It's a health condition.
Right.
Like if you had seizures.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you broke out into a seizure on a date. What would you do? You
not knowing the condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it is fair to disclose, but for the purpose of letting someone have the chance to be sensitive enough to know what to do, give them a chance to be responsible enough, and to just basically understand who you are as a person in every aspect.
Because I wear my badge proudly. I'm a proud suicide survivor. Not because I'm trying to scare anybody, it's because I'm proud.
Yeah.
But that just goes back to the fact that we don't even want to be who we truly, really are. We're still afraid of being authentic and vulnerable and just truly being us.
A lot of people
in this
are.
world. I know.
Yeah, right.
But why? If you're
because
it doesn't make sense for me, soulmates. If you're willing to lay down and exchange your body with somebody, why can't you disclose the other things? It just really doesn't make sense to me. Because that's the most sacred, most private, intimate connection you can have is to be butt naked, skin to skin, allowing somebody inside of you and allow you inside of them to be inside of somebody else. We take that for granted. We don't even understand the spiritual connotation of intercourse, but we'll do that all day long. But then outside of that, we have nothing else. And so when we need them to support us in a mental state or an emotional state, they can't show up for us because we don't even feel safe enough telling them that part of us. But we can show them our butt and we can suck and, well,
and all that, right? But I think the problem, make that make sense. I think the problem is everybody doesn't view sex as sacred. For a lot of us, it is just something to do. It's so casual. It's not intimate. It's just something to do. And that's totally separate from making a real connection with somebody. And I think when it comes to disclosing things like mental health, I could see some people just having a fear of how the other person would react. Is it going to cause a rejection? Is it going to scare you away? Or I don't know.
Interesting. Is it going to scare you away?
Like I could see somebody being afraid to even let that out.
I can too.
I don't justify that, but I can understand the fear.
And I do too, but that makes me want to do it even more because of the fear. Because I'm like, if you're going to judge me now, you may as well go ahead and get it out the way because I don't even care what your perception is. I mean, you don't even know me. So I may as well tell you who I am.
Good point. Right up front.
I don't have to ever see you again.
Right. That's a good point.
That's the thing about me. What you see is what you get.
And let's say you waited though.
And what if I would have waited?
If you wait too long and then all of a sudden you pop something like that on somebody, for one, they may see it as disrespectful. Or the question would be, why would you not tell me something like that? Or again, it depends on the individual, but I'm just throwing scenarios out there.
Because why would you not tell me? And I'm sure this has happened quite often where people have not disclosed all their medical information. Then they end up getting with a person, they end up getting married. Then they find out they got a whole mental health condition and they've been taking medication for it for years.
Right. Yeah.
Now, how shocking and scary must that be for an individual?
Besides that, I think it could be hurtful.
Very much so.
Because now you feel like that person didn't trust you with the information or they just didn't think enough of you to let you know what's going on. Or I would feel that way. I would
too.
Yeah, I would be like, how could you not tell me that?
Then you even have those mental health conditions that people probably would really be embarrassed to disclose, like schizophrenia or even narcissistic personality disorder. I believe that is also a form of mental health.
It is.
Psychological disorder. And a lot of them know that they are, but they either don't want to admit it or are in denial or they just don't want to do anything about it.
Right.
But if you are more self-aware as an individual, I believe you're secure in who you are. It doesn't matter what you have, what you disclose. It's not going to break or shake you at the end of the day. And that's what I realized for me. I was like, well, if this will scare somebody, they're not meant to be around in my life anyway. But you do have a lot of people that are afraid of that are just afraid in general of just truly speaking their truth or their piece in their relationships.
Right. And then the right partner would be willing to help a person live through and actually share their experience. I mean, especially if you you talk about like a marriage situation or a real long lasting relationship, you you're living with that person.
You are.
You're not
So
living
it's
separate.
serious.
It's not
Right.
your problem versus I'm
It's
gonna do
ours.
exactly. And I think the right person can see it that way, and then that takes away a lot of the fears. I think it should anyway.
It should, but that's almost like the financial conversation. At what point do you start discussing finances when you start dating somebody? Nobody wants to be seen as being used for their money, and by no means are women gold diggers. I mean, I'm sure some are, but at some point, when do you start having those types of conversations?
I think, I mean, there should be no time limit on it, but I think it's a matter of, again, how close is the relationship? Where is it going? Do you see it going past the dating stage? Right. If you just casually dating, I don't think is a reason
say
to
that on the first date.
Yeah, sit down. Let's talk about these finances, like what you bring to the table, type of thing. Like, but
that's
like, where
funny.
you working at?
Right. What's your salary? Let me see you.
Yeah.
Your W-2. No, we obviously don't want that.
But at some point, it's important. I mean,
it is, especially if you're planning on being together long term. You do want to start having these conversations. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about. But I know that there are people that will hide it. They would still try to hide it.
Well, I'll say this. In every partnership, there's going to be strong points. Like somebody's going to be better with money. So you need to make a decision to let that person kind of have a stronger role in managing the money if it works that way.
I agree. You got a partner that can multiply the money, that can make your money make more money. I concur.
Man or woman, there shouldn't be a gender role in that. Just who's the best function, or who can function better in that capacity.
It's about a balance. Who does what? Who has more experience? Who's more comfortable doing this, that, and that? Like you said, has nothing to do with a gender role.
Yeah,
it's just what's your strong suit? What are you good at? I'm comfortable handling these things. You do that.
Right.
As long as no balls are getting dropped.
Like a team. A team. Like everybody's not a shooter on the team.
No, they're not supposed to be. Everybody has that role.
Yeah, everybody's not the quarterback, so it's kind of like who can cook the best. You know what I'm saying?
And it doesn't matter the gender,
right?
But somebody will say no, because I know some people still think woman's supposed to just do all the cooking.
Look, I'm gonna tell you this: if I can make something better than you, I might want to make it.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? I might want to make it if I want something that tastes good. So I'm not gonna force you to make something you can't make. So
right. You know, somebody said something the other day that really baffled me.
What?
They asked the question: how come women don't sacrifice their happiness for their family and their relationships anymore? First of all,
I mean, who's to say women are not making sacrifices? Who's to say men aren't making some sacrifices, sacrificing their happiness to make it work?
Who's to say anybody's supposed to sacrifice anything for any relationship to work? Love doesn't require you to sacrifice. That's problem number one.
Right.
Number two, women don't have to sacrifice their happiness anymore, because we can have both. We're going to have the family, the children, and our happiness if we learn how to prioritize it. And don't get me wrong, I was a woman who thought that it was the family and the children over my happiness first. And then I see that just wasn't advantageous.
I mean,
because you can't put anybody else's happiness above yours.
True. And I think sometimes we make the mistake of using that word happiness as if it's a replaceable thing.
No.
Like you can either have your family or your happiness. Like, why is it one or the other?
And it's both. Yeah. And when I say happiness, I mean I'm giving everything, sacrificing everything to please them, and sacrificing my own happiness. I'm not doing that anymore. I've done that. I'm no longer living that life. And I think a lot of women are at the point where they're like, I'm no longer going to sacrifice my happiness to please somebody else. We shouldn't have to. Nobody should, though.
What did that look like?
That looked like
to not have your happiness. Like, paint that picture for me.
That looked like me going home, not saying anything, pretending to be the perfect wife, even though I was unhappy. I wanted my husband to give me more attention. I wanted my husband to show me more affection. I didn't say anything. I would just go home, cook, do what he asked me to do, and I say, yes, sir, whatever you need, Mr. Michael. Like I was Anime Bullock and he was Ike, because I just didn't want to ruffle his feathers. And it wasn't like he was abusive. I just thought I had to be like that because as long as he wasn't complaining, I'm gonna be okay. As long as our son is happy, healthy, he's fine, which he always was, then that's all that matters. Because as a woman at that time, that's all I thought being a woman and being a wife meant. As long as my husband and my child are happy, it doesn't matter about me being happy because their happiness matters. So that's what it looked like for me.
Now, how much, like, to what extent did that contribute to mental illnesses?
I'm not going to say it contributed to the mental illness, but it did contribute to my abandonment wound, my attachment issues that stemmed from my childhood. But I think what happened was being in the relationship with him started to trigger some of the things from my childhood, being in a emotionally unavailable household as a child.
Okay.
So then being in the marriage when my husband wouldn't communicate with me, it felt like he was emotionally unavailable. So it would trigger that same feeling from when I was a little girl. I felt like my mother and father wasn't doing it. So I just found somebody else to give me attention outside the house, which again did not help.
I got you. I feel you.
That's how that works. That's why I'm talking about this issue today, because we got to make it make sense. We can't be in our relationships. I don't care if it's your husband, wife, sister, brother, mother, father. We can't sacrifice our happiness for anybody else anymore. Not in 2025. It's not even sustainable because we can't pour from an empty cup. And I'm saying this is somebody who kept trying to give and kept trying to give and always was trying to people please and rescue people because I was trauma bonding with a lot of people. Didn't know it. But the minute they would tell me that they lost somebody close to them or they had a parent that died, I would instantly be like, oh.
It made you gravitate.
It would make me gravitate. I didn't know that was a trauma bond. I was just like, oh, we got something in common. Nah, that was a trauma bond.
Right. Yeah.
So when you know better, you do better. But even if you are in a trauma bond relationship, it's not something that you can't figure out, that you don't have to be a trauma bond because you can turn that into something healthy. But you have to be two individuals willing to be accountable, number one, for your own happiness, and also be willing to hold a mirror up to yourself and be honest about who you are and where your shortcomings are. We don't ever want to be accountable for ourselves. That's our problem as individuals, and that's men and women.
Right.
When we can't even be accountable for us, that's when it becomes an issue because then we force it on somebody else. Like I said in the beginning, at what point do we tell them that we have a mental health struggle or I have some kind of medical condition and I might need your support one day? If I don't advocate for me, then who will? And I know that now because when I wasn't well, I didn't say anything. It's very important that we speak up now, especially even, and I know it's Mental Health Awareness Month, especially about your mental health. And if you're not okay, it's okay to not be okay. And if you don't even feel comfortable communicating with somebody close to you, reach out to me, Soulmates, or find somebody, but just don't hold it in and feel isolated and think you have to do it alone. That's the most important message.
And that's the thing, not doing it alone. Because especially if you're talking about partnerships and being in a relationship, you should never have to feel like you're alone. It really needs to be where two people are making an agreement, and I like that word agreement, to partner together and function together. And so that means you actually take on everything about that person. That person takes on everything about you, depending on the level of the relationship. But you get to a certain level to where that's necessary.
Yeah. It is.
Because why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? That comes down to the foundation of the relationship again.
Exactly.
If that foundation isn't solid, the relationship is going to crumble. Are people still trying to be players in 2025? Like people over 40, they still trying to be players?
Yes. Of course so.
I don't know why I asked that. Because I just felt like at some point we would be too old for that. But I guess, what do I know? Maybe I'm just too old.
Of course people are.
But why? What we trying to be a player for?
People love it. I don't know.
Is it the thrill? Because if you want to have multiple partners, just tell your partner.
I think it all stems from fear. You only got two
Everything
emotions in
stems
this
from
world. It's
fear.
only fear and love.
That's it.
And if you're doing it out of love, then it's
And greed. Maybe it's greed. Maybe they just want their cake and eat it too. Maybe they want to play, but then they know where to lay. They know where the foundation is, where their base home is. No.
I think it's still fear based.
Oh, okay.
I think
You're probably right.
I mean the greed comes out of there, but it's the greed is fear based.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're fearful that either you don't believe that you can hold a relationship, or you've been scarred so many times that you don't believe that you deserve a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just becomes easier to just bounce around and to juggle people around and to just have whatever you can have, because you're not going to feel stable enough to have a real solid relationship.
Have you ever known anybody that rejected love because it felt so good to them? They thought it was too good, so they rejected it.
I've heard of people saying that, but I don't buy it.
Why not?
I don't know if I believe that that's what they really mean.
What do you mean?
We're humans, and besides being humans, we're spiritual in nature.
We are
spiritual in nature. So I think that things that are genuinely pleasurable,
mm-hmm.
we gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a such thing as saying, "Oh, this is so great that I have to throw it away." Like that doesn't. I don't think that fits into human logic. So if someone says that, I believe that there is another issue that's underlying. There's an undertone in there.
Yeah, it's the fear that it's so good they're going to lose it. So therefore, they reject it. It's a form of self-sabotage.
Yes. Let me ponder on that for a second.
Meaning they're going to do something to ruin the relationship. They're going to try to end it before the relationship can end on them, before their partner can leave them or hurt them. They're going to do it first.
Well, yeah, I guess we're saying the same thing, but it's not because of it's so good. It's just because they are fearful of
right,
not
that's
being
what I'm
able
saying.
to. Yeah, we're right. Okay, so we agree.
Self-sabotage.
Right, we agree. Okay, same page.
And that's a form of trauma bonding, because you don't even understand, and a lot of us don't even understand that we really, because what it is that we're doing is the person that we're attracted to, most often our counterparts are reflections of us. So there are things about them we're not liking or that we're rejecting. It's most often parts of us that we need to address within ourselves.
Agreed. Yeah.
So you're rejecting that partner. Then what does that say about you? How do you respond to yourself? Because it's really a form of rejecting yourself on a deeper level.
Well, okay, so let's really flesh this out though. So in that same situation where somebody says this is too good to be true, and they're afraid of losing it, if it's a reflection, then the reflection of that is I also have tendencies to make someone else feel that they can be afraid of losing me. So it goes both ways.
It
like
does.
You're gonna fear what you think that you can do.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
That's the exact thing that I'm trying to get people to see. We project that energy.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it is.
We project it. We give it out. That's the part of the self-sabotaging. That's what we as individuals can't even see.
That's unfortunate though, because okay, first of all, I'm a Sagittarius, you know what I'm saying? We all we like to be optimistic, always looking at the bright side of things. And but maybe that's a fault, but maybe it's not. But things just seem so easy to me. Like in my mind, I think, why do things have to be so hard? If you have a nice situation, embrace it. Love your situation. Like, be responsible for your situation. Don't do things that's gonna sabotage.
Yeah.
Don't lead with fear. Don't think about all the things that you might do wrong.
But what if you don't know that you lead with fear? What if you don't know that you self-sabotage?
Then that's why you have to start doing some self-reflection. You got to dig into yourself.
But it's them. It's not me. It's them. I'm not the problem.
I'm saying you. I mean them.
No, I'm just saying that's what people think though. They'll be like, no, I'm not the problem. It's them. It was those individuals. They're the problem, not me.
Then I think that it just calls for every one of us to self-reflect. Whether we think we have an issue or a problem or not, get up in the morning and look at yourself and say, How can I be the best version of me today? How can I improve on who I am today? Am I doing something wrong? Am I making mistakes? Like we just have to like question ourselves sometimes. We might not want to, but it's a
You
good
never
idea.
do.
It's
We
a good
never, I don't
idea.
know how many people actually stop and reflect after a relationship ends. Do they stop to do their inner healing work, to reflect on what they learned from the relationship? What did they not like about the relationship? What did they like? What didn't they enjoy? What will they not do? Most of us don't do that. I had to do that the last couple of times to learn about me and the way I
Okay.
show up. But we really don't. And I don't think we use or spend enough time actually being single and not jumping into the next situationship or even the relationship,
Right.
because we don't give ourselves time to figure out, well, I'm not the same person that I was in that previous relationship. So who am I? How am I going to
Right.
show up? We don't even give ourselves that time to do that. So what do? We show up as that same person, bringing
Over
that
and over
same
again.
baggage
Right.
over and
Yeah.
over. And then we're wondering, well, make it make sense. This didn't work out either. It can't be everybody. Eventually, at some point, you're going to have to look at you and say, okay, I got to be the common denominator. Yes, Queen, sometimes we are the problem too.
Sometimes, and men too. Yeah, we are the problem, and
We're the
I
solution too, though.
yeah, right. I think though, when we experience bad relationships and we try to end it and go on to the next, I think it's important that we not hold on to the fear of what happened in the last relationship and then anticipate the same things happen. Like, don't anticipate that everybody's going to be the same as the last person. Don't
Yeah.
anticipate that you're going to make the same mistakes as you made before. Like, actually give yourself the chance to grow and learn from the past
Mm-hmm.
experience and just move on past it. Just
And I think that's really hard. That's
yeah,
hard because the
yeah,
brain is obviously going to reflect on the last situation.
right.
And as human beings, we always going to compare the new person to the previous person, to the last partner.
That's
We do
bad.
that.
That is the baddest.
It's a
That's the
bad thing to
worst
do,
thing to
but
do.
it's just
Because
because you're going to reflect on the last situation that you was in. You just can't help it. It just is.
we have to learn to not, because that is so toxic, and in a lot of ways that can be toxic. If I if i if I went into every potential relationship and held on to what I experienced in the past and tried to project all the things I didn't like onto the new person,
That's that stuff I don't like.
man,
That would be a lot, but we do it.
I could
We
can't
do it a
we
lot.
can't we got to
We
learn to not
do.
do that.
And I believe that once you learn the lesson, you won't do it again. You won't
Right,
pick those
right.
same people over again.
That's key. You don't pick the same type of
You
person,
don't.
but
God
don't.
has taught me that. God has said, I sent you this. That's not it, God. No, no.
Right,
Nope,
right,
that
right.
wasn't it either. So now that God knows, God got me, but God had to see. I had a lot of lessons I still had to learn before I finally got it.
I got you.
But I had to grow. Every situation, relationship ended, I grew. I learned from it. I grew and became a different version of me.
Yeah.
So now that I'm at this highest version of me in alignment with spirit, now I can find what? My spiritual union. And I believe that is the kind of love and connection people are going to start to gravitate towards now in this new world that we're in. The conscious level is elevating. The
Yeah,
way that
yeah,
we
yeah.
love, the way that we connect, the way that we are gravitating towards people is going to be different.
Right.
I know a lot of people are experiencing relationship shakeups, wake ups at this point. It's a reason, because God is really trying to show us that we have to have something deeper than just the basic, oh, we're just married because it looks good on paper. It
Gotcha.
has to be a spiritual alignment, meaning we believe in something greater than us. Together, we're co creating a bigger future for our children, our legacy, whatever it is.
Right, right.
It just has to be more than, yeah, we just doing this because we go together, we've been together all this time, or I'm just waiting on them to die. And then, it
Yeah,
has to
right,
be
right,
deeper
right.
than that.
But I think it also takes a certain level of awareness. Like, on one hand, you have to be aware enough to know this is something I need to go away from. And then at the same time, be just as aware to know, okay, I've been presented with another opportunity. I got to jump to this. Not jump quickly, but have the same amount of intelligence as you thought you had going into the wrong situation to see the new situation. And
use a different level of discernment.
yes, that's a better word. Yeah,
definitely.
Right. Discernment. Right. Yeah. Right.
You have to know who you are, what it is that you truly want. Half of us don't know what we want. I was talking to a guy. What do you want? Man, still can't tell me. Could never tell me what do you want. Sir, you don't know what you want. Then
just want somebody
I'm gonna go
pretty.
over here.
I'm gonna
go over here and find somebody that knows what he wants because I just don't. I just don't have that kind of time, and I'm not rushing nobody else. I'm just telling you about me. But if we can understand what we want, what we value, who we are, we waste so much less time and energy on the wrong people and situations. Soulmates, make it make sense. Wouldn't you rather go ahead and just let somebody know from the beginning, you know what, this is just not going to work for me, but I wish you nothing but the best. And I'm going to move on so you can find who's meant for you, and I'm going to find who's meant for me.
Right.
Because that's the way it's supposed to be. We don't even have to waste any more time trying to make this work. And I used to be guilty of that. I was notorious for that. Well, they might just grow on me. I know. I don't have time for that anymore. It's not going. I don't want nobody to just grow on me. It's either that or it's not. And it is what it is. Some people are okay with that.
I'm pretty good at knowing right away whether or not I'm gonna like this or not.
I think most men are like that, though, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I know they always say a man knows his wife when he sees her, so that's why I asked. Like, are all men like that? Or is that a facade?
Okay. No. I think men do come to that conclusion faster than women. Why that is, I'm not quite sure. Maybe we can talk about that another time. I don't know, but I think in general, a man can recognize whether or not he wants to be with a lady for the rest of his life or not. Whether now that's just because he make that decision doesn't mean that he's making the right decision. What'd you say? Really gonna do it?
And then he really gonna do it. Oh, you said back.
Oh, like he really gonna put the ring on the finger?
Yeah.
That's that too. But I think just because we think that in the beginning doesn't mean we have the right idea. But at least we come to a conclusion, right or wrong. We jump to that conclusion a lot faster than women, I think.
Interesting.
Because you know what I think that is? Because I think women spend more time trying to analyze
what?
A man, as in, like you all would think more in depth about how he's gonna handle your children later, or how he's gonna interact with your family. Like y'all have other thoughts that we might not necessarily think of right away. You know, we just thinking, oh, I just really like being around her. Oh, she make me smile, or we laugh together, or I think I can do this. And we don't really have a good way of expressing what we feeling. All we know is, I think I can do this. You know,
that's it. I think I can do this.
That's as far as the thought goes. Like without putting a lot of in-depth thought into it.
So there's no connection.
There is.
There's just, I think I can do this.
There is a connection, but I think it's just not as involved with what's the word I'm looking for? External factors. You know what I'm saying? As what you all might be thinking in terms of we just thinking I'm having a great time. I like this, and it's a great feeling.
That doesn't sound like longevity, but okay.
It doesn't.
Not at all.
It doesn't.
It sound like just for this moment.
Right, and then it takes us to still grow and develop a relationship.
And then that's when it gets real.
And then that's when we find out, oh man, she bipolar.
See?
Right.
Like I said, so that's when it gets real.
Let's turn this right back around full circle.
Oh, now you done found out she's bipolar.
Right. We already decided we want to marry this lady, and all of a sudden she's bipolar.
Now the skeleton's coming out.
Now we're like, oh my.
Do you want the skeletons to come now or later? Put all of it out there. I need to know everything now. Let me know so I can decide if I want to go any further.
Right.
I'm gonna do you the same. That's it.
Right.
But everybody ain't me though.
But what will happen though? Back to like men jumping fast to that conclusion. I think the right woman would know how to slow the right man down a little bit and give him a pace.
Yeah.
And not let him jump to the ring so fast. Right.
Yeah, I had somebody who's acting like they was doing that.
It takes a balance, you know what I'm saying? So
please, thank you. Takes a balance. Balance. What is that?
It means not going too fast and not going too slow. You don't want to get married after 3 months, and you don't want to wait for 3 years either.
So what's the typical time? Do people still do 2 years? Is that the typical time?
I don't know.
I don't either.
2 years, I think.
I have a friend who did it in less than a year. I think she got married in 9 months. She just said, when you know, you know. She just said at our age, and we were in our 30s, she like, it don't take that long at our age. We just know.
I don't know. Like, I know a couple. They older. I mean, they like my parents' age, but they met and got married within like 4 months. Mm-hmm. Still together, got like 8 kids, and
it works for
they
some,
got a wonderful family. You know what I'm saying? Like,
worse if you work it.
Yeah, so I don't know.
It takes 2 individuals.
Is it a time limit though?
I think it just depends on the 2 people.
Now, I've heard you say before.
Some people, I say for me, it has. I know I'm not going to date anybody longer than 2 years.
2 years, right? I've heard you
without
say
it eventually talking about marriage, because I know I have a personal timeline for myself. So yeah.
But even besides that, I think if you around somebody for 2 whole years, you have to have at least thought about marriage.
You think so?
If not, if you haven't, then I think you're just not in the mind frame of commitment. Mm-hmm. I think that person who let it go that long, they comfortable.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right, they comfortable, and nothing's wrong with that. If that's the agreement that y'all come up with, but you're gonna know the person that you with. You're gonna know if your lady wants to be married.
But what if you are a partner that doesn't want to get married, and the only reason you would is because your partner wants to, because she wants to get married?
Nah, I think that calls for a conversation. Like, I think in that case, there's a way to still be together and not be married.
But what if they want to be married though? What if she does, but he just doesn't? And the only way he's gonna do it is because she wants him to. She doesn't want to marry him.
I think they should talk about why he doesn't want to. Mm. Or if it's the other way around, if there's a woman that don't want to get married.
Right. Why don't they?
It should be a conversation like, why? Like, help me understand what it is that you don't want to get married for. Like, what would that look like? What would be a reason to not want to get married?
Yeah, I don't know. In that situation, I'm not really sure what the reason is. But I would imagine it has to be difficult for certain partners. And if you know that you have a partner that has told you that they don't want to be married, do you still date them anyway, knowing that there's a part of you that does want to be married? What do you think? You're going to change them? You think that they're going to change their mind? How far long are you going to go with that before you get your feelings hurt?
That's the same as saying you messing around with somebody, but one of them don't want to have a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Y'all having sex and everything, but they just don't want a relationship. So how far do you let that go? Mm-hmm. Knowing one person wants a relationship, the other person don't.
And it does. Are you going to set yourself up for failure to be hurt, or are you going to be honest about it?
Cut that off. Now,
let's just be real.
I see that different from somebody that's actually in a relationship, mm-hmm. and they've been cohabitating or whatever. They've been together for however many years and just don't get married. If the relationship is good, if the commitment is there, and the only thing that's missing is the paper, is it necessary or is it not? Mm-hmm. Again, that calls for another conversation. Why does the person not want to take that step? Are they feeling uncomfortable? Do they feel things will change after that? Or I don't know. Help me out with that.
I don't know. I know there was a point where I didn't want to be married.
Okay.
In fact, for a long time, I didn't. And I kept saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I knew I wanted to be with him forever. Then it happened. I was like, yeah, no, this cool, because I know I want to be with him. Then it changed afterwards. But there was a part of me that didn't want it because I was afraid that it wasn't going to work because of what I saw in my family.
Yeah, I know.
So that's I was already doomed to begin with. Right.
That's what I was trying to pull out of you.
Yeah.
So is that fear still there that things would change if you have a great relationship? Do you still feel that marriage could change the dynamic of the relationship?
Marriage will change the dynamic. And that doesn't mean it's a bad change. It's going to change, though, because you are husband and wife. So now there are more rules, because now legally you're bound by certain laws. So now things are going to change. But it doesn't make it bad.
How so?
But I realize that it does, because now you have to make different decisions for you and your household. Now you have to plan differently. Now you have to look at it as it's not just me, it's us. We're a unit now. And I know even when you're dating, you're supposed to be looking at it as a partnership.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. So,
but if it's marriage, it's deeper. You know that it's a legal agreement. If you just dating, you can easily separate that and go about your business, right? But when it's married, it's more legalities involved. There's more that you intertwine with. There's just more that you have to untangle when you separate, when it ends, versus
legally
being non-married.
Legally, right. But here I am again with this optimistic view. I kind of see it to where, like, I don't think anything has to change, even though I experienced it changing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was married and divorced too, so I'm right there with you. I've seen it change. I still believe that it doesn't have to, if the relationship had a foundation from the very beginning. Like if there's already a sense of partnership, if there's already a sense of cohesiveness, and we're equally splitting responsibilities. I don't mean equally, but I mean just in a way that works for both people. Mm-hmm. Both people. If all those things are already in place, I just don't see why having a ceremony and exchanging rings and eating cake changes the way the relationship has to flow. Like in my perfect dream world.
No, I'm not saying it has to change the flow, but I'm saying the marriage will change things. Because now it's more serious. There's more involved now. There's more at risk. Now something happened, you my next of kin, you the beneficiary. Like there's more at risk when you get married versus when you're just dating. That's all I'm saying.
You can be my beneficiary without getting married.
Really? I could. So you got me on there now? Oh, okay.
I can. I mean, you could be right. We can write the policy. I mean, I'm just saying, but you could.
But no, it definitely will. And I think that was my problem. I didn't want to change in my marriage.
Right.
And they wanted me to change. And I'm like, well, why?
You wanted everything to be just as it was.
It was supposed to be the same. But no, it wasn't supposed to be the same. I wasn't thinking like a married woman. I definitely wasn't. I was just like.
Well, maybe I think that's it right there. You weren't thinking as a married woman. Mm-mm. But if we take away the word marriage and just substitute that with commitment. Mm-hmm. If there's already a sense of commitment, for me, I don't think it would feel that much different.
So any type of commitment is the same? Like a marriage commitment is the same as a non-marriage commitment to you?
It can be, potentially. Not necessarily, but it can be. It depends on the dynamic of the people. If the two people have that strong of a bond to where they feel married, you might as well be married. But if the paper is not signed, what difference does it make? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm all for marriage. I'm not trying to sound like I'm not for marriage. I am. But I think there's a such thing as having a relationship that's so bonded to where it could really feel like a marriage.
Oh,
whether you go to see the judge or the pastor or not.
Oh, I know, because I did it for 10 years before I got married. Yeah, no, it definitely does.
Right.
But I just think you're going to change anyway, because as individuals, you're going to change. So, yeah, the marriage is going to change. Because as you grow, hopefully your partner is growing too, which is no guarantee. Hopefully you're both growing. But I think if you have a spiritual bond, a spiritual union, then most likely you will learn to grow together. Even if you come out, at one point it becomes imbalanced. Right. You learn how to get it back into balance.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That's just what I think.
Yeah, for sure.
This is going to be the second time around, though.
Right.
Second time around.
Make it work and make it make sense.
We're going to make it make sense. And this time, when I do it again, I'm going to tell my husband, I'm going to say, husband, I don't have bipolar, but, your girl do be going through. No,
just do it in a good way.
I'm not bipolar, but I am very much cosmically in tune with the planet. Now, the energy I do feel. That does not mean
bipolar.
It doesn't. I said I'm not bipolar, but I am cosmically in tune with the energy of the planets. No, it doesn't make me bipolar. But do I have days where my mood can be up here? Absolutely. Yes. And some days where I just don't feel like being bothered? Yes. Does it make me bipolar? No.
And see, that's the thing. We all function on spectrums of energy.
We do.
And there are...
Don't talk about that. You can't talk about that in the medical world. They don't talk about energy.
Okay.
Don't talk about that. They don't talk about
Okay,
that.
okay.
But that's exactly what it is. And I understood that about myself a few years ago. Like, wow, I knew I wasn't just making this up. I'm not just crazy. I even talked to my mother-in-law about this. She's a psychologist, and
Okay.
she agreed. She like, yeah, you're right. I said, because some days I can be just fine, it could be weeks or months, and then all of a sudden, for about 6 months, 6 to 9 months, I may have a moment every few years where I'm going through something. I don't know why my life is just like this,
Right.
but I know I'm not feeling like myself. I can't quite put my finger on it, but this is unlike me. This is how I used to feel. Right. Now I know exactly what it is because I'm in tune with it. I'm aware of it. So now I go with the flow. I allow the energy to just happen. Yeah. And when I'm feeling unlike myself, I have things to do to get me back in balance, to keep me grounded. But I had to learn all that on my own. No therapist, no psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker, no prescription drug. Nothing taught me that. That's what's up. And I had to learn for my mental health stability, it was about out loud, literally talking out loud, talking to other people, sharing my story helped me to heal. Not holding it in, not trying to pray it away, praying, meditating, and then doing the work with other people because people need people. And that was one of the biggest things I learned in my mental health recovery journey is people need people. Right. We're not supposed to have to do any of this by ourselves. We don't let people die alone. So why would we let people deal with their mental health struggles in silence?
Shouldn't. Champion of life.
We shouldn't make them feel different either. And in fact, we need to just start normalizing mental health as just a form of health because it is. Right. It's probably the most important form of health because everything starts in our head and our hearts.
Yeah, your physical health depends on your mental health.
Exactly. Yet they don't want us to talk about that. They really don't want to introduce that. So
we will.
Which is why I'm going to be introducing this to our youth and our young adults because I am going to be teaching about emotional intelligence because we got to teach these children. They have to be better. We have to be better. We as a culture
yes,
have to be better. We have to be more emotionally sound, financially, mentally, and especially spiritually. Right. We can't create anything. We can't achieve or attain anything if we don't have a spiritual connection.
In this order: spiritual, mental, physical, social.
in that order. Right. And that's the thing that I did not get when I was recovering in the hospital during my mental health journey was the spiritual piece. Right. Mental health is spiritual health. Mental health is spiritual health. I'm going to say it again. Mental health is spiritual health. Because when your spirit, meaning your heart, the heartbeat that God gave all of us is not in alignment, then our heads go haywire because it's not communicating with the heart, with our souls, with the God within. And that's when the mental health starts to act out. That's when the symptoms start to show up. That's when the thoughts of unaliving myself started to show up. The minute I stopped praying, which I did, is when I became unlike myself. That's the part that I didn't get when I was getting the prescriptions every month. Right. When I was trying to find something to just make me feel good. I know I sound like Halle Berry, but it was a feeling like no matter what, I just wanted to feel good and nothing was working until I got reconnected with my spiritual belief and my higher power.
Right.
That's and I can't say that's the missing link because it's not a secret because we all got the God within us, but it's just in those moments of weakness where we forget it. Right. And then that's when we really got to have faith.
Exactly.
And know when to call on God because that's when the devil within is going to show out and the fear is going to make you think that whatever you're dealing with is the end all be all and nothing can get you from out of it. And that's just the exact wrong thing to think because that's not true.
But a spiritual imbalance causes a chemical imbalance. A chemical imbalance is a physical imbalance.
What did we say earlier, soulmates? Balance is the key word. Balance, balance, balance. Everything is balance. The more we can start balancing our head and our hearts and our physical bodies, is the more we'll be able to be better individuals, better people, better in the society, in the collective, within our families, within our communities. Because when something is out of alignment, we can't be our best self. People go to work every day as if everything is okay, and inside they're slowly but surely falling apart, or they're burning themselves out,
Right.
overworking themselves. Now they're stressed, now they're anxious, lack of sleep, high blood pressure. Think about it, soulmates. Think about it for a minute. Where do you think you get most of the stress and the anxiety from? And if it's inside your house, then I would advise you to rethink about who you got up under your roof. But most often than not, there's something going on externally outside of you, especially your work environment. And we know that they really don't care about. They do, but they don't. They say they do, but do they? It's because the minute you go out on a medical leave, they're going to replace you. 2.5 seconds.
I mean, it's just a responsibility for them.
It's like
a liability.
Basically. But it's Mental Health Awareness Month, soulmate. So check in with yourself. Make sure you're okay. Check in with your people. Even those that are strong, check in on your strong friends and family, because we all need people. I'm saying that it's for me. Check on me too, because I know I be strong, but we all human.
And don't be afraid to let the people close to you know your situations. Give them a chance to be emotionally responsible. Give them a chance to be supportive, right? Yeah. Give them a chance, because if they love you, they will. They will support you, and that's it.
And you know I love you, soulmate, so let me support you. The more I support you, the more I do my work. Okay. God told me I'm here to help us heal and support. Create a safe space for us to heal out loud, and that's what I'm here to do. Judgment-free zone, because that's what we need. We just need more people having the container to speak their truth, to let go and release whatever it is that has been holding them back, that's keeping them stuck in a low vibration, out of alignment. Because we up here with ours, me and God and us, we here. But then some of us are like, don't let them pull you down, soulmates. Everybody can't go with us. And if there's something that is draining you mentally, ask yourself why. Why is my head and heart not in alignment? Because there's something that my heart wants my head to see, but my head ain't hearing it. My head ain't connecting. Right. So check in with yourself first and foremost, and check in on your people.
Self-reflect. Get yourself right.
Yes. Self-love is the best love.
Did we make it make sense?
Make it make sense, soulmates. Make sure you all comment, subscribe, like, share. If you have any questions, concerns, anything you want us to talk about, to comment on, please share. Please rate, like, and stay tuned for more. Make it make sense.
See you next week.
Bye. I feel like I want to hear Cole go do 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 do.